If you are tired of stressing over money, you're working hard and you're wondering, where is all my cash going? Or if you just want real, honest financial advice, this episode is for you. Today, I'm interviewing Leila from the Debt Over It channel on YouTube. She has over 44,000 YouTube subscribers. She is so passionate about all things personal finance. She's up in my old state, Georgia. What's up, Leila?
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So we've been working together for I don't know how many months, but coming up
Since
probably
September.
yeah, so
Yeah.
almost a year. And you've put my butt on a budget and helped me pay off, over a lot of debt and work towards some goals. So tell us a little bit about what it's been like helping me get my budget on together and sticking to it.
Sure. Your situation is definitely unique because I know when we first started working together, you had a large chunk of debt, and then you're like, oh, but I'm making this month or next month a large chunk of money. So I want to pay all of that debt off, which that is very exciting. I think one, that's a good decision, a brave one at that, because I think a lot of people would want to hold on to the money. So that was really cool to see you do. Like, oh, I have X amount in debt. And then by the next Monday, it was all completely gone and it was a huge chunk. So that was very exciting. And yeah, your finances are different because you have the business side of things, the personal side of things, and making a lot of progress. So, and you're very on top of your tracking, which that makes my job easier. So I love it.
Yeah, well, tell us. And by the way, you guys can leave comments. I used to do this podcast audio only, and people are like, hey, you should do it on the internet. So we are live on YouTube. We are live. Let me make sure we're live on Facebook. I got my Facebook. Oh, yeah, we're live on Facebook. I see myself there. Apologize for the echo there. I have my volume on. We're live on Facebook and we're live on LinkedIn. So you can leave a comment and you can ask Leila a question. Lager's Lawn Care. Lager's Lawn and Land. What's up? Thanks for tuning in on tonight. Now, before we dive into, I have a whole bunch of questions for you, but why don't you let us know about your YouTube channel and how you got started, talking about money on YouTube?
Sure. So I apologize if anybody has heard this a million times before, but I started my YouTube channel back in 2019, and I had just started my debt payoff journey the year before. So in mid 2018, I reached my highest point of debt, over $82,000. And I knew I wanted to pay it off as soon as possible while still enjoying life. And then come 2019, I had started documenting some of it on YouTube on like my lifestyle channel. And then I was like, what if I just document all of this on a different channel focused on finances so I can document my journey and then also, get some educational content on there as well. So that's exactly what I did. At the time, I was a big follower of Gary Vaynerchuk. I still really like Gary V, but he always is saying, document whatever it is and put it on the internet. And so that's what I did. I was like, I'm doing all of this stuff anyway. I might as well share with the internet. I was comfortable with that. Even to this day, I'm still comfortable with it. So you can see everything about my finances on the internet. And it was very motivating for me. It held me accountable. It was fun. And I was doing it anyway. And I knew eventually I did want to monetize it. And I did monetize it. And then I eventually became a financial coach. That was another thing that came up. I was like, I love money. I love finances. I want to help more people. So I decided to go down the coaching route, and that started in 2020, and it's just grown since then. And now I do this full time.
Fantastic. Well, what's step one? Somebody says, I need to get my stuff together. I got to get my finances in order. It just feels like you're making money, but where is it all going? Why do you open up your bank account and you're like, I thought I had more money in there?
Mm-hmm.
What's step one?
I think step one is awareness around all of your finances to begin with. Like, yes, you want to start your budget, create a budget and start tracking your spending. But even just looking at, hey, how much debt do I have? What are my minimum payments? What are my interest rates? Make sure you have all those numbers. Make sure you can log into all of your accounts, because a lot of people are afraid of taking that first step, looking at their reality. And yes, it's intimidating, but that is the big first step. And looking at your assets too. If you have anything in savings, if you have any investments, take that all into account. log into everything, and then you can track your net worth. And then from there, you can see where you're at, make some goals, start creating your budget, tracking your spending, all of that. But step one, being aware of where you're at.
Now, I've heard some financial experts say that most budgets fail. And the first one you make, if you actually track how you performed compared to what you thought you're going to do, your groceries are going to be way more than you thought. Your food out is going to be higher. Most budgets fail, but how do you actually do it to where your budget's on the internet every month, Leila? And I actually watch them videos. I find them entertaining and fascinating. And you're helping me with my budget every month. But how does somebody get into that routine where it's a part of the rhythm of your life?
So with the budgeting not being perfect, that's okay. Like, even if you watch my videos, I go over budget on many categories. I'll set a budget for something, and then usually I go over budget in one category or the other on a monthly basis. I do create an annual budget. I'm not going to go into detail with that, but that, as long as I'm staying on track with my annual budget, that's a big thing. But when you're first making your budget, a way to kind of stick with it is looking at the data that you do have. So if you can go back 3 months and look at the spending for the last 3 months, then you have more data to work with, and you can be like, hey, for the last 3 months, I've been spending about, on average, 600, 700 on groceries. That's probably what I should budget for the month that I'm creating a budget for. So then it's more realistic, and you're more likely to stick to it. And I think building the habit of budgeting and tracking, it takes time, but really you have to find what works best for you. So I like spreadsheets, and you do as well, Paul. Like, the Google Sheets are fine, but some people like an app, some people like pen and paper, some people prefer like different websites to use. So finding what works for you, trial and error, will eventually get you to just like actually stick to it. So everybody's different.
Yeah. Shout outs to Kat Godfrey. She said, woohoo, live.
Hi, Kat. She's always on my channel.
Thank you for, we're a bunch of rednecks, Kat, that have lawn care businesses, and we make a lot of us make a lot of money, and we need Leila to help us. So that leads me into the next question. So Kat's from your channel, you know, Kat. Thanks for tuning in, Kat. So most folks that listen to our podcast own a lawn care business or a landscaping business, and we'll use your state of Georgia as an example, Leila. May in Georgia, everybody needs landscaping. They need pine straw. They need their grass cut, the trees pruned. Money's flowing in, and then it's a good month. May's awesome. May's good. June's good. But then you get into like November, December, January. It ain't so good. So there's this fluctuation. It's not like a job where you're getting, your same paycheck that's the same amount. We're in a very fluctuating season where the spring is awesome and the winter blues are real.
Yeah.
How do you budget as a business owner when you have these gigantic swings?
Yeah, you have to be careful, because sometimes you'll make all that money and be tempted to just spend it all, make these upgrades. Lifestyle creep in any industry is real. So when you work a standard 9 to 5, or you own a lawn care, then you can fall victim to the lifestyle creep and like, hey, I have the money, I can spend it and get a new car and buy blah, blah, blah. But if that is your situation, then it's ideal for you to just stick with a monthly amount that you're going to pay yourself, even if it's not that you're on payroll or anything like that. Stick to summer month, how much you're going to pay yourself. Let's call it 5,000. That's what your pay is, even if you're earning 30K. So now that remaining 25K is going to go into your savings, or leave it in your business checking account, so that come November, December, January, and so on, you can still budget 5K per month and have that money ready to go. So it's basically a large emergency fund, or just a business cushion for y'all to have. But yeah, it can get tricky. It requires a lot of discipline and making sure that you actually will do that. But that's your best bet, is just choose an amount that you're comfortable with to spend during the summer, and be reasonable. You can still make room for what you travel, whatever you want to, but make sure you have enough for the rest of the year as well.
That's good. And Kat said she's North Carolina redneck here. So welcome to the show. What are silent money leaks where, as you analyze budgets, you just notice and people's money is just getting out of there and they don't even notice it?
Food out. It's the easy food out. always food out. Sometimes fees, people pay fees that maybe they missed a payment or they overdrafted an account. It could be a number of things. They maybe don't have enough money in their account. And 9 times out of 10, you can, if it's like your first fee or you haven't had a fee in some time, you can call them and say, hey, can I get this refunded? And they will refund it. But it's just so easy to avoid that, like try not to pay fees because you just shouldn't be paying fees on anything like that. Another one would be subscriptions. So sometimes I'll see, we'll make a budget for somebody's subscriptions and it's, let's say $30, but then it ends up they're tracking their spending and it ends up being like $45. And they're like, I don't know what that was. And then they're like, oh, I had this and this. I didn't know that. So they go and cancel it. So those are the three main areas that I see come up where it's like, oh, I forgot about that. Or it just leaks, as you said.
Yeah, well, food out definitely. I got a lot of weaknesses, and again, full transparency. I started working with Leila in September, and you had this spreadsheet for me where it's like how much are your assets and all your accounts and what are your debts, and essentially you figured out the net worth, and then we got on a plan, and so each month Leila has a budget laid out for me with the categories. And then like each week is its own column. And I fill that stuff in now. And I've been doing it. It helps me so much. We selected $400 for food out this month. And I've been like, I did the math. I did 400 divided by 31 days. I think it was like $12.90. I was like, oh man, no more double steak at Chipotle.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing good. Like my budget, I don't know if you've peeked in the spreadsheet recently, but I'm on pace for my first time ever to have food out under 400. So we shall see if I can stick to the discipline, but it helps me to actually know, wow, I spent so much on food out last month. And I think the budgeting part has been helpful, but where you've helped me the most is the actual tracking, because Leila and I meet at like the last day of the month or close to the last day of the month. And then we have to face the facts. Well, how much did you really spend on food out? How much did you really spend on groceries, et cetera? How has tracking helped me and your other clients from what you notice?
Yeah, that's my, somebody, I think you asked me when we talked last time, like, what's your number one tip is to track your spending because otherwise you don't know where your money is going. And I check your spreadsheets every Monday morning. Any of my clients, I check Monday morning, but yours are always filled in. So that's why you don't ever get a notification from me. And was the question tips on tracking or the importance? I'm sorry, I lost track.
What transformation has it seen? Because I know it's helped me tracking my money and actually hiring you to track my money, because if I didn't have you to keep me accountable, I'd probably put it on the back burner. But how have you noticed a correlation between those who track their spending and the progress they make towards their money goals?
Yeah, good. So thank you for clarifying. So a lot of people, just the awareness, I'll come back to that, like just having the awareness of where your money is going and your actual picture, because you can make a budget all day long every single month, but that budget doesn't mean anything if you're not tracking your spending. So you could say you're spending 400 on food out, but in reality it's 600. So when people actually start tracking, they're like, oh, that's what things are looking like. And by, with my clients, I try to encourage at least tracking on a weekly basis, even better if you can do it daily, like as you spend. But by tracking at least weekly, you can keep an eye on where things are getting close. So if you're maybe just a week into the month and you've already spent 200 on food out, you're like, whoa, I need to reel that in because I'm only budgeting 400 and now I can only spend 200 over the next 3 weeks and I want to stay under budget. So it just gives you some clarity around your spending and can help you to stay in check and help you to hit your goals. And I did want to call out here too that it depends on what makes you happy or like what you want to prioritize with your spending, because if 400 is your budget and that's where you feel comfortable at, that's great. And you don't want to go above that, that's great. But for some people, they may want to spend more on food out or anywhere else. And that's what I like. I like that approach where it's flexible. You can spend where you want to spend within reason. And, maybe you'll have to cut back somewhere else. So everything is customizable, which is good.
Yeah, that's so good. We're live on YouTube. LinkedIn, and Facebook. So if you guys have a question for personal finance expert Leila from Debt Over It on YouTube, you can leave your question on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or on YouTube. I'm like the news. I got Facebook on my phone. I got YouTube over here, got LinkedIn. So I'm trying to pay attention to everything. So feel free to drop a comment and I will ask Leila. But my question is, how do you save money, especially when things are already tight, especially when you feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck? How do you save money?
There's only so much you can cut back. I think when you're at the beginning of your financial journey, you're new to budgeting, new to just paying attention to your finances. That's the most exciting time. It's kind of like being a beginner at the gym. That's when you're going to like see the most progress. It's the same with your finances because you can go through all of your expenses, say, I'm going to reduce that, I'm going to cut that, shop around for new car insurance, lower that, so on and so forth. But as you progress, it gets a little bit harder you can only cut out so much, like, yeah, you can only eliminate so many groceries you have to eat. So it can start to get tricky. So honestly, and this may not be fun to hear, but working on increasing your income is the biggest thing. So yes, you can save money by budgeting, by tracking, by paying attention to your finances and cutting where you can. But if you're still really struggling with that, the biggest key is going to be increasing your income or just finding little ways. You don't even have to have a second job or a side hustle. There's little things that you can do. Like I open accounts for bonuses or opening, be careful with credit cards and these accounts, but opening credit cards for bonuses and using them responsibly, you can make a little bit of extra cash. Or donating plasma. I worked with a client who did that multiple times in the month and made like hundreds of dollars to supplement his income. So there's other ways to do it without having to fully commit to a second job or any sort of side gig.
Yeah, that's good. And most of my audience has a lawn business, so it could be as simply as going and raising your prices or selling, selling some more work and just doing the existing work you're already doing, but making your prices higher until people start saying no. I remember when I first started working with Leila, I got the special price, but I was like, wow, all right. And then you raise your prices after, and then but you kept my price.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I saw your video you put up the other day with like the Honda versus the Bentley. And yeah, I think as lawn care owners, you can probably charge a lot more. And I think I really like keeping my prices, any of my OG clients. So if I've been working with you before I increase my rates, I keep it the same. I think that's important. I really like loyalty and I think all companies should operate that way. But beyond that, like if you can have new customers come in at a higher rate because you do get better. I can confidently say that I am a better coach. I am more educated. I have more experience over the years. And for me to keep my rate the same, that isn't really fair to me. Like this, if you are looking to improve your finances, I am very confident that I can help you to do that, So all of y'all with the service business can absolutely do that because you are improving and you probably have better tools and you invest a lot into your business too. So,
and I heard you mention Gary Vaynerchuk earlier. He said something a while ago and it always kind of stuck with me that the price will dictate what you're worth. So it doesn't matter. You could think I'm worth this, or I mean, you could have a house and you could think, well, my house is worth $1 million. And you put it on the market and like all the other neighbors are selling it for 300,000.
Yeah.
It don't matter what you think it's worth. What does the market, if ain't nobody going to buy it for $1 million, if all the neighbors' houses are 300,000, it's probably a $300,000 house. So he was basically letting people know it's okay to think, whatever you want to think about yourself, that's fine. But what does the market think? And when it comes to raising prices, you'll know when your price is too high when everyone starts saying no.
Yeah.
You get no. Well, then you have to come down. But if everybody's saying yes, then there's some middle ground that you want to kind of find that sweet spot. And the video that Leila was talking about, I learned this from Myron Golden here in Tampa. He's like he has a Rolls Royce, like literally. He's a friend of mine. He drives a Rolls Royce, which is this fancy car. And then he's got all kind of cars and all this stuff. But he's like, on his Rolls Royce, the windshield It's not that much different than my windshield. I drive a Honda Accord proudly, but the tires aren't like, they're not that much nicer than a Toyota's tires or a Honda tires. They're probably a little bit nicer, but they're still the same ratios, like with the air in them. You know what I mean? Like, you showed them to a little 5-year-old kid, they would think, oh, it's a tire.
Yeah.
They wouldn't notice a difference. But the Rolls Royce cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and my Honda Accord costs like 22,000. But the point is, Rolls Royce branded themselves as luxury. Like, you step in a Rolls Royce and you feel cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and actually, I want to say something related to that, because with you calling out that you drive your Honda proudly, I know that when we first started working together, I think you wanted a Mercedes, and I was like, hey. and I think you wanted it to just like feel, correct me if I'm wrong, but like to just feel confident or like look a certain way. And I'm so glad you went with the Honda, because so many people, sure, if you're a Myron and you can buy a Rolls Royce and afford it and not have debt or whatever, like leverage it in some way, that's different. But if you're in a situation where it's like, okay, you know, I don't care too much about cars, I can get from point A to point B with a Toyota, with a Honda, that is so important. It goes back to the lifestyle creep. Like, don't get the Mercedes, don't get the, you know, crazy expensive car if it's just for like the aesthetics of it or just to look a certain way, is my thought. I drive a Camry and I love it.
yeah, and why I chose not to get a Mercedes is one of my business mentors, Jonathan Potoshnik, is like, you got to live your lifestyle as tight as possible while you're building a business, because you want to have as much margin and as much extra money around so that you can build the business. And there's a time and a season where Jonathan Potoshnik and my friend Myron, they have the fancy cars now, but they're also, you know, Jonathan's example, you know, his net worth is over $100 million. So ratio wise, he can buy a Mercedes or whatever, Audi or whatever fancy car he wants to buy. But where I'm at right now, trying to grow my business, that's unwise, because that money for the extra luxurious car could be going to ways that I can build my business. So you and my little brother, Robbie, you talked me down to a Honda Accord, and it is the right decision in hindsight.
Yes, I'm glad. And it's paid off. And like, it's amazing to have a paid off car, no debt, all of that. So
yeah. I bought it in cash. So I practice what I preach on that, because on my podcast, I say never borrow money for a vehicle. Like, you know, buy it in cash. I don't know your philosophies on that, but I feel good like just going and buying it and not having a car payment just feels good.
It depends. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, do have to finance cars, even if they're used. I don't know how crazy the car market is now. I haven't really paid attention, but yeah, I think a lot of people do end up having to finance a car because they may not have 15K, 10K saved up. And I understand that, but just make sure it's a reasonable percentage of your income that's coming in, and try to pay it off faster if you can. The interest rates are a little bit higher than they were a few years ago, of course. So it's going to cost more in the long run. And I don't know about you, but that was my favorite debt to pay off. So I had car debt, of course, too. And paying that off was the most exciting. Like, it just felt the most rewarding because I had it physically, and I still get to sit in that car. Like, I own this. And I just think it feels really good. So
yeah. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Lager's Lawn Care asked what happened with my F-150. So I love that thing. It was awesome. And last June, I had this crazy idea of selling everything. I sold my bed, my couch, everything. And I moved to Florida. So the place I moved into in Florida has a parking garage. And I think my F-150 would have barely fit under, because I've seen other people with a truck. But I just, like, if I hit a bump or something, I thought like my F-150 was going to hit the ceiling and going into the parking garage. So I literally sold that. I sold my bed. I sold my couch. I sold my everything. And I just got a rental car, one way trip. I got a rental car. They gave me a Mitsubishi, and I loaded it up, and I fit everything I had in my rental car. And I came down to Florida, and probably the best decision of my life. I absolutely love it down here. It's absolutely great. Matt on LinkedIn, thanks for tuning in on LinkedIn. He says he likes leasing his vehicle. We're with personal finance expert Leila from Dead Over It. What are your thoughts? I've never heard you talk about leasing, or we haven't talked about it.
Yeah, it's to each their own. When I got my car, it was a lease. It was actually the same car, but a different color, different car, because it was cheaper buy to buy out a different car instead of buying out the lease. I said that wrong, but hopefully that makes sense. I think leasing is good if you're fine with the payments. Like I think it's nice to have a new car and you get it every 3 years. But I personally just don't like payments because that's a few hundred each month. And I just would rather, I do build up a little bit of a savings each month or here and there for car maintenance. And that's all, it's not much. I have a Toyota Camry, so it's pretty affordable. And then I'm just going to keep saving so that when I do need a car, probably many years from now, I'll be able to buy a used car, whatever I choose then. But yeah, I think it's fine if you want to lease, but not what I would do, not ideal for me and not ideal for a lot of people just because it can get really expensive.
Yeah, the biggest mistake that in the landscaping business is these guys and gals, they go out, Leila, and they get we're in 2025. They go out and they get the 2025 and they lease it or they buy it, but they have the payments. And then
Mhm.
that thing depreciates so much, over the next 3 or 4 years. So
Mhm.
a 2019 truck, my Ford F-150 was a 2016, and that
Mhm.
thing, I was driving that thing all around Atlanta. And, and,
The
and
potholes.
yeah, but the point is, you got to be careful that you don't buy brand new. If you, aren't a multimillionaire, it probably would make more sense to buy an older. My Honda Accord's a 2021, and it's nice, but it's not depreciating at the rate of these newer models.
Yeah, exactly. I have a 2015 Toyota Camry. I think the other thing with leasing too, if you don't drive too much, it'll work. But for a lot of people who have longer commutes or plan on traveling far distances with their car, it can get tricky with the mileage. I know you can get more mileage options, but then it usually ends up costing more. So you have to be careful with that too, how much you drive.
Yeah. What's your advice to somebody who wants to build wealth, but they feel like they're behind? Like they see everyone else's net worth, their age, and like, man, everyone else is just so much further ahead of me. I don't even know where to start. What's your thoughts on helping somebody understand how they can build wealth even if they're behind?
Stop comparing. It's where everybody else is at does not matter. Like I could compare myself at early 30s, and my net worth is a little bit over 100K. There's people who are younger than me who have a higher net worth, and that's fine, But I feel really good with where I'm at financially. So stop comparing. Like just focus on yourself. All of that's not going to help. Uh, you just have to start today. Like start as soon as possible because you can keep saying, "Oh, I need to do this, I need to do that," and people keep putting it off. So starting as soon as you can and just start looking like we talked about the first question, awareness, know where you are, where you stand, your current net worth, and do what you need to do to get there. If you are, if you're in your 50s and your 60s and you don't have anything saved up, I understand that that can be scary. That's the reality for a lot of people. But start with something. If you can at least reduce your debt over the next few years, if you can save something, invest something, even if it's just a few dollars on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, that will get you further and help you to build the momentum to create that habit of saving and investing. And you'll be better off with something instead of absolutely nothing. I think a lot of people feel stuck or they just question like what's the point of doing it because we're screwed anyway. And I hate that mindset. I think it's really upsetting. This is why I'm so passionate about personal finances. Like I just wish I could get the message to everybody. Like yes, things aren't great all the time. I understand that. And even more recently, things have been chaotic, but you have a lot more control than you think you do. And that's the whole point. Like just control what you can control and everything else, just don't worry about it. Like, what are you going to do about it? You can't do anything. So that's my thought.
That's good. What does financial freedom, what does that mean to you? I know it's a popular phrase in our culture, but what does that mean to you?
I think being able to do what you want to do with your time and not feel pressure around that. So I know for me, so I wouldn't say that I've reached a point of financial freedom, but I have reached a point where I'm somewhat financially independent. Like I'm following the slow fi path. For anybody who doesn't know that, that's basically a version of the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. And I left my full-time job last year so that I could pursue my passion, which is, content creation and financial coaching. And I am so much happier. So sure, I'm making less money now because it's just from my business, and I'm investing less money, but I'm able to pay for what I need to pay for, keep myself afloat, and then some, because I'm able to save, I'm able to invest. And I love life. Like that to me is a version of financial freedom in and of itself, because I don't have to report to a boss or, log in at 9 p.m. or 8:30 and then work late and do all these things that I don't want to do. So that's the power of money, and it can create that freedom. And I think the biggest thing is getting your time and having time control and just making choices that you want to make instead of following what anybody tells you to do.
How long has it been since you left your corporate job, and what's been the pros and cons of being a small business owner now and having that pressure of, you got to go out and make the money, or, you don't have that steady paycheck guaranteed like you do when you have a job?
Yeah, it's been about a year as of May. I think my last day was May 3rd, 2024. At first it was scary. I think the scariest thing for me was health insurance. And luckily, there were some ups and downs with that, but luckily it's been fine. And it is not as expensive as I thought it would be. I'm easily able to afford it. There's been a lot to learn. I'm now an S corporation. So learning all of that and being on payroll, there was just so much for me to learn, setting up my own 401k, learning curve with lots of things. And at first it felt stressful. I know when I first quit, those first few months, I actually started applying to jobs again. I was like, okay, I felt scared. So I was like, let me just apply in case some opportunity comes up, I get an interview. But after the summer months, I stopped doing that. I felt more motivated after the summer passed, and I just put in the work, and ever since then, it's been fine. Like I think it really comes down to your mindset at the end of the day, because when you start putting out these negative feelings or just self-doubt and saying, oh, this is going to happen or this isn't going to happen, you start to hold yourself back. And I recognize that that's what I was doing. So I'm like, okay, same thing with what I was saying before, control what you can control. So that's what I did. And I, was experimenting with different things, trusted the process because I know myself, I know that I can work. And that's exactly what I did. And it's been fine. So much easier than I thought it would be. And I don't think I could ever go back to a 9 to 5. And having savings helps too, of course. So I have a decent amount in cash savings. I have a decent amount in investments. I told myself if I have to pull from my emergency fund 3 months in a row, then that's a problem. Like I'll need to apply to jobs. And I have not had to I pulled from my emergency fund one time, and I really didn't have to. It was just to get a month ahead. So I've been good. I've set myself up to not have to stress about it, basically.
That's good. You had some viral YouTube videos, which I think you should keep doing. They're very good. But you go up in Atlanta and you do like woman on the street interviews where you're just asking people about their personal finance questions. What's been the craziest story being out in the public and asking people about money?
If I interviewed anybody and there was anything that if people responded, it's on the internet. So anything I think one of the ones that stand out to me, it was, I believe, my most recent video. This is at the Beltline, by the way, in Atlanta. And the Beltline is where people walk. It's very crowded. So it's super intimidating to do. I go up to these people like, hey, can I ask you questions about personal finances? And most of the people say no. But quite a few did say yes, which I really appreciate. And this one guy, he was doing really well. He had over 400,000 in just a regular account, like just in savings. And I was like, whoa, one, that's not FDIC insured, over 400,000 in one account. It's not protected money. And then for him to not have it invested, that really stood out to me. Like, you're doing great, but you probably should allocate that money elsewhere. So that's one of the biggest things. And then Otherwise, it's really just rejections. Like people think I'm selling them something, so I will ask like it's usually older couples or something and they're like, "Oh, we're all set." So they think I'm selling something but I'm not. So, yeah, nothing too crazy. It's been fun.
Yeah, and those videos are doing really good on YouTube.
Yeah, thank you.
We are on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. If you guys have a question about personal finance for Leila, feel free to drop it and I will ask her your question. Um, on behalf, I'm going to ask a personal question though. Leila, you've been working with me personally since September. You've seen me pay off all my debt. So, I paid off all the debt, but what do you think I could be doing better to really move the needle in gaining net worth and saving money and investing and reaching those financial goals as you kind of watched my tendencies and weaknesses and spreadsheets and tracking everything? What can I be doing better as this year continues on?
Okay, so you're giving me permission to
Please. That's why I hired you, because I just felt like I'm working too hard and making too much money, and
Mhm.
just it's flying away. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. No, you do make a great amount of money. I think with you, um, I think right now, and we talked about this just last week, is your business expenses being large in proportion to what you're taking in from that venture, you know? So this was probably, and I think it will work out for you, honestly, just because your work ethic and where things are going. But to me, that's the biggest thing that's like, that stands out. And then sometimes you'll get to, well, you don't follow through with things, not that way. You don't, commit to things without speaking to me first, which is good. So I know that you wanted to do the boat club and like there's bigger things.
Oh man, the Freedom Boat Club here in Sarasota. You can take a boat out. You can take it in Gulf of America. You can take it in the Sarasota Bay. You can go down to
Yeah.
sea. And yeah, I told Layla, I'm going to start dating here soon in Florida. I was like, how cool would it be to be, hey, you want to go out on my boat tonight? And you kind of shut that down. And my little brother Robbie said, no, you can't afford
Yeah.
that right now.
I think sometimes if you were on your own or, not speaking to me or to your brother, then you may not reel it back in. And that is probably what could cause trouble, like if you end up doing those things without thinking it through, which luckily you do. So I think sometimes you'll get ahead of yourself and then get excited about it, but then you may end up being disappointed. But for the most part, like you're doing great. And then your taxes, of course. So that was a little bit, I think you made more than you expected to. So by not being prepared for that, and that's a big thing, taxes for self-employed people, small businesses, a lot of people fall behind on that, unfortunately. And it just needs to be prioritized because otherwise it gets so difficult to catch up with that. If you're already behind in the year, the next year you may be behind, and that's just going to keep on happening to where you stay in the red forever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just don't like to mess with the IRS, honestly.
Yeah.
Libby.
Libby.
Yes, from my channel.
Yeah, thanks to everybody from Layla's channel coming over and hanging out. We're a bunch of rednecks that have lawn care businesses and landscaping businesses. And how I found Leila was I was on YouTube one day and I typed into the search bar net worth calculator, I think. And I watched a few videos where people like talked about their net worth, and then I found Layla's video, and she had like a spreadsheet. I was like, oh man, it's probably like $300 or whatever, but I'm gonna buy it, and it was like $4.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like you got to raise your prices, but I but I was about to buy it, but then it was like, or you could do a call with Leila for whatever the price was back in September, and
Mhm.
I had already in my brain thought that the price of the spreadsheet was going to be hundreds of dollars. So I was like, I could do a call and get the spreadsheet. So I did the call and then basically hired you right away. And you've been helping me with my budget um, every month. And I do it every day. I go into the spreadsheets that you've made for me and
Mhm.
I have a little system. I kind of made a hybrid of what you made for me. And then I kind of made my own little thing that works
Yep.
from my brain. So every morning I'm updating what my checking accounts balances are. And then if I'd had any expenses, business or personal, the day before, you've made it so simple with the spreadsheets you made for me with the columns of each week. And I put all of that in there, and it really scares me because I'm like, man, I got to make more money. I got to make more money. I got to make more money because there's
Yeah.
only so many places you can cut the expenses.
Yeah, you do more than I do. You track your basically your net worth on a daily basis, which I don't. I do monthly, and even people will say to me like that's too much. I like doing monthly, but yeah, you do even more than I do with that. And no, I appreciate that. And with the raising my prices, I did with the coaching and such. The thing is, it's tricky with finance because I really like to help people, and I really want to help more people. And if you come to me with debt, your net worth is negative, you have nothing left over on a monthly basis, I still want to help, you know? So that's where it gets tricky with financial coaching and all of this. That's why I try to make as much content on YouTube because that's at least free and you can learn that way. It may not be as structured, but yeah, it's just it makes me sad. Like I do wish I could help more people, but I also know that I have to support myself at the same time. So I'm okay with my prices where they're at.
Yeah. And I don't know where they're at because you hooked me up with your September 2024 prices, and
Mhm.
I appreciate you honoring those. But I just wanted to say thank you for helping me. And then anybody who's listening on Apple, listening on Spotify, I'm gonna put Leila's information in the show notes and walk somebody through what it's like to do a discovery call with you, on board with you. I know you and I are in a routine now where it's like we have a meeting scheduled at the end of every month and it's on like a retainer, they would say a rinse and repeat.
Mhm.
How do you get started if somebody's like, and guys, I was a mess before I started working with Leila. Like my finances were not dialed in the way they are now. It's really been a big transformation for me over the last 9 or so months. But what's that process like of starting to work with you?
Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying all that. So I do have a couple of different, well, a few different options. So there's two options on my website, debtoverit.com/coaching, where you can book immediately. Like you don't have to have a discovery call. Like if you like me, if you're interested in what I have to offer, you can just book immediately. And in those first sessions, the first sessions are always super fun because that's when basically we get a picture of where your finances are at, your debt, if you have any. Some of my clients do not have any debt, and they're interested in just building wealth or building stronger financial habits. So there's that piece of it, just getting a picture of where you're at, your debt, your assets, that type of thing. And then any questions that you have for me, I would answer during those first calls or any call that we would have together. And I usually have a ton of questions about your financial situation during that first call too, to just kind of feel where you're at, what your goals are, what you want to prioritize. And then if we're meeting mid-month or end of month, then we will make a budget for the upcoming month specific to that month, you know, because every month is going to look a little bit different when you're creating a budget. So just talking through that, like I give you spreadsheets, so we would make your budget, and then I have options where you can have a second call with me or just one call, and then I would send like a little follow up. Or you can work with me for 12 weeks, and that's when you need like much more accountability. And you know, I check in on spreadsheets every morning. We're going to be meeting on a regular basis, so we can just talk through your spending and just keep up with your net worth, all of those things. So every situation is a little bit different just depending on that, but it's literally all the aspects of personal finance we will talk about. So the saving side, building up an emergency fund, what that would look like for you if you want different sinking funds, which are just different savings accounts like for travel, for car maintenance, that type of thing. Investing, I'm not a advisor, so like legally I can't give investing advice, but I do talk about investing with just about all of my clients, and it's more so like, this is not investing advice, but this is what I do, or this is what I recommend, type of thing, just suggestions around it, or education around it. If people need to allocate their funds elsewhere, if they want to actually invest their money and just want a walkthrough of how to do it, I can help with that. Yeah, so it's just building better financial habits, and everybody gets a custom plan.
Yeah, it's so good. I've really appreciated working with you. And I mentioned my little brother before. He's a certified financial planner, and
Mhm.
his net worth is bigger than mine. And that's what really got me, like, that's what motivated me to type into YouTube search, like, net worth calculator. Cause I was like, how's my little brother, like, my income's way bigger than his, you know,
Mm-hmm.
we're like brothers. We can fight about this stuff, but it's like the tortoise and the hare, but he's been so meticulous. Like, he is the poster child of a penny pincher. Like, he does not spend money
Mm-hmm.
on anything. Like, he is so careful not to spend a dime, and he just invests like $6 on Chipotle or $10 Chipotle. You could have put that in S&P 500, or you could have put that in this mutual fund, or like, he's just like obsessed with putting his money into the market, and then, you know, over time it's grown. So that's what really made me mad. I'm like, whatever he was doing made him, you know, more wealthy than me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I hired you, and I was like, okay, I gotta do all these. Essentially, you talked me out of buying a Mercedes, you talked me out of getting the boat, and I've been, when I started working with you, I was fat and happy. I'm still fat, but my expenditures are getting more and more tight,
Mm-hmm.
because of you helping me.
Yeah.
Kyle's Lawn Care. Are you in Sarasota? That's where I live. Now I do spend money on golf.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually didn't get that membership I was telling you about. I haven't got it yet because I was scared if I can even afford it or not.
Oh, the 1,500 up front?
Yeah, I got cold feet because I could have
Okay.
got it on May 1st, and I was thinking, I don't know if I should get it or not. So I haven't got it yet, and I haven't been going as much just to see.
Okay.
But
Okay, we'll have to talk through it.
yeah, we can talk through it, not when we're live on the internet. But we have a question come in, and the question is it better to invest in ETFs or individual stocks?
So Kyle, I was just saying too that I am not a financial advisor, so legally I can't give investing advice. So I'm going to put a disclaimer that this is not investing advice or financial advice. Please do your own research. This is just for informational, educational purposes only. So ETFs, I don't recommend individual stocks for most people. I know some people like to have fun with it. They like certain companies, so they want to invest in that. And that's, do that if you want to. Personally, I do not own individual stocks. That's something when I was a beginner, I did because I thought that's what you were supposed to do. But I really like index funds and ETFs, and I really just keep it simple. So my YouTube channel, I literally show everything about my finances. So I am primarily invested in Vanguard funds. So actually I'm all invested in Vanguard funds. So VTSAX, VGT, VOO, VTI, those sorts of things. I'd keep it pretty simple and just own a few funds, and that's it. I don't have any individual stocks. And you're already diversified with all of that. So yeah.
Yeah, VOO, that's the S&P 500. I recognize that one.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I can't give financial advice either. I'm not like my little brother Robbie, who can. He's a certified financial planner.
Yeah.
But that's, for me, as somebody who doesn't understand as much as my little brother, and I'm not paying attention to the markets all day long, paying attention to the Japanese market. I mean, my little brother's he's just in that world. But the S&P 500 is the 500 biggest companies in America.
Yep.
So, for me, that's what I'm comfortable investing in. Lemire, up in Boston. He's got a thick accent. Buy a boat. You only live once. Is that what YOLO means?
Yeah. Bad advice, Lemire.
So the boat wasn't going to be an individual boat. It's a thing called the Freedom Boat Club, and you pay $5,000 one time. That's gone. You don't get that back, and then you pay $400 a month, and then you pay for the gas when you take the boat out. But they have they have pontoons. They have the boats, like you put a raft on the back. They got all kind of fishing boats. They got all kind of nice boats.
Yeah.
So I haven't done it. Leila talked me out of it.
I know, Paul, for you that this is all very new to you as well, at least from what you've told me. This income increase is new to you. And I think a lot of your audience can relate to that either now or in the past or in the future, to where they'll get to that point. And lifestyle creep is just so real. No matter what you do, I know we already talked about this, but it kills so many people. I've worked with many high income earners in addition to you. And once you creep up your lifestyle, it's hard to go backwards, because you live in this luxury world. It's almost like your own little bubble. And for you to step out of that is very uncomfortable. And stepping out of that is literally just like a normal life, like how everyday people live. But because high income earners have lived in that elevated lifestyle for so long, they get overwhelmed, they get sad, they get even depressed, to where it's like, no, I don't even want to do this because I like living this lifestyle. I don't want to cut back. And you're struggling with finances forever, unfortunately. So that happens so often. So I'm glad you didn't do the boat club or anything yet. Nothing crazy.
Yeah, and you used the word yet, and Alan's being somewhat sarcastic. I know Alan
Yeah.
Lemire, up in Boff. I can't even do. I'm not even gonna try his impression. But the point is, back to my friend Jonathan Potoshnik and Leila. If you got to go, just let me know. I
I'm
don't
all
know.
good. I'm free.
Yeah, you guys can ask her a question, then just drop it in the comments. But both Leila and I and Alan as well, who left the comment, Lemire Landscaping, we all own our business. And so the problem with increasing lifestyle, if I get the golf membership and I get the boat membership and I get the Mercedes, then my money's going to all of that. And what if there's a business opportunity here? Leila knows about a risk I took in my business out of cash, like I'm cash flowing it and everything, but I can't afford both. You can't afford the boat payment and taking a few risks or gambles in business. And if the business risks I'm taking, let's say that worst case scenario, they don't work out. It's like, well, I tried and I failed. And every entrepreneur, they all have a story where they failed.
Mm-hmm.
Not the end of the world. But if your lifestyle is too big, you're really stuck with growing your business because you got to feed that lifestyle. And I was that was me until my brother and Leila have been helping me, and Joey and Megan Coberly and Sheila. There's a whole bunch of people. I'm like, not like a drug addict that needs help. It's like I needed financial help because my stupidity just thinks, well, I'll just go get the boat membership. I'll go get the golf membership. I'll go get the Mercedes. I'll just go make more money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how my brain worked. And it's just really dangerous because now you're just like overworking to keep up with your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. The other thing too is, where does it stop? Because that's what happens too, is like, okay, you get the Mercedes and then you're like, actually, I think I want the BMW, like it's $100,000 more, so it just keeps on going. It's like the hedonic treadmill where you get to a certain point of happiness and then you just start chasing the next thing that you think is going to make you happy. So I think that's a big thing that, I've learned throughout my journey and that I try to instill in others, is finding what's enough and finding those things in your life that actually add value. So I always use this in like podcasts or interviews that I'm on, but I love books. I buy books. They're not that expensive, but sure, it can be a waste of money to some people. But this is something I really value buying because I want to collect books and I read. If I'm not on the internet posting videos or at the gym, anything like that, I am reading. So I like to buy that. I like to buy workout clothes. Those things make me happy and I spend within reason. But I'm not going to go and buy an expensive car because that's not something that adds value to me or my life. So just finding those things and like really getting down to truly who you are, what you want to prioritize, what makes you content, and then determining what is enough and kind of just floating there. So
what's your advice? Because you and my brother are so similar. I feel like you guys are frugal kind of by nature. Like it's kind of easy for you or kind of like fun for you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas somebody like me who's just, I'll roll the dice. I'll go to Vegas, take all my money out, bank account, throw it all on the table and bet, black or red, or like, hey, I'll go start. Like, I don't know why my risk meter isn't sharp enough. But what's your advice for someone like me to avoid lifestyle creep who is not natural for?
That's a good question. I don't know that I have the answer to that because I think everybody's experience in their past is so different. So I'm pretty frugal, but nothing compared to like my boyfriend, for example, who barely buys anything. And that's just, he has more of a scarcity mindset around things because he's been laid off before, because he's had different things, different experiences in his life. And I think the same for me. Like, I've had moments in my life where I was very low income and struggling. I had a lot of debt. I was losing sleep at night. And that encouraged me enough to never want to live like that again, to where it's like, I think things through, and I built these habits because of that experience. And I think a lot of this stems from childhood too, you know, seeing what your parents went through. That's big for a lot of people. Or yeah, there's just so much mental stuff that goes behind finances. So I don't know that I have the best answer for that. I think who you surround yourself with, though, is a big thing, because sometimes that can be a big factor for high spenders or those who it doesn't come naturally to, because then you start to become like that person. Or if other people have bad habits, then you start to take on those things. And yeah, I think it just comes back to that enoughness and like determining what it is that you want to prioritize in your life, and make sure you're focusing on those things and get rid of all the other noise, basically. I don't think I have the answer for that. I'm sorry.
That's good. If you guys have any questions here, final questions for Leila, let me know in the comments. Just drop a comment and we can ask her the question. But I have a question. What's one money decision that you made that really moved the needle for you, that really changed your finances?
It's a good question. Let me think for a second. I think a couple of things, but I'll go with the biggest, which was getting out of debt, to be honest. Like, prioritizing my debt over everything else was big for me. I still lived life. I still enjoyed life while paying off my debt, but getting to that point was a big shift in my life. I felt like more opportunities opened up. And I think even just taking chances with content like building a business on the side is another big thing that has really, really shifted my life, of course, because I'm now like living my dream life, basically. So just being willing to put myself out there, which took some time, like getting the courage to be brave and go on the internet. It was very uncomfortable at first, dealing with those learning curves of everything, posting, editing, all of that stuff, but it all paid off. Being consistent really paid off for me, and that has completely shifted my life. Like, did I think I would get to this point? Honestly, yes, because I've always wanted this, but there were times where I wanted to give up at the same time, and I'm so glad I didn't. So I think those are like the two biggest things.
Yeah, that's good. I saw one of your posts. You said people recognize you in public from your YouTube channel. What's it been like having a YouTube channel and the impact that that's had?
Yeah, nothing crazy, but there's been times at the gym where somebody has approached me like, hey, do you have a YouTube channel, like finances or something? And I'm like, yes. Or some people will say like, I really like what you're doing with your channel. And I'm like, whoa, did somebody tell you about that? Or did it just pop up? And it did just pop up. And at the belt line, people started recognizing me there. Yeah, YouTube is my favorite platform. I love YouTube so, so much. I think if you are open to being on the internet, you should absolutely just post. I think it comes easier to some people, but if you go back and look at my first videos, those are embarrassing. Like, please don't go and look, because to me, they're cringe. I talked really slow. I was kind of quiet. And, you know, at the time, people seemed to like it because I was still growing. But looking back on that, I'm like, oh my God, how did anybody like me? So you just naturally get better with it. And to me, it's just been like, for years, I was not making any money on YouTube. And I have two channels. I have my finance channel, I have my personal lifestyle channel. And that one doesn't make much money. It's just kind of for fun. But I created that back in 2011, since I was like 17, 18 years old. And that's what I wanted to grow at first. But just putting myself out there and getting more comfortable with the camera has paid off more than I expected. And it's just so fun. Yeah, you can literally, I would have done it for free. Like, I did do it for free for many years. And I think that's what you have to recognize, that it's not easy. And even now, I don't make that much money just from YouTube alone. So you have to be okay with that. And that's when it just is easier, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you have 44,000 subs on YouTube. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But even you mentioned the AdSense on YouTube isn't as grand as maybe people think, but
Mhm.
it brings you in business. I would have never found you if it wasn't for YouTube, because
Yeah.
I was literally typing, I was searching for somebody to teach me about this network calculator. How do I, how do I have more of a net worth? My little brother who's, showing off. He's not showing off, but he motivated me. I'm like, how's this young kid saved up so much money in the stock market and all this stuff? So because I searched what your videos were about, somehow the algorithm, led me to your video on your net worth tracking spreadsheet video,
Hmm.
what I think I watched. So you made money for me. I pay you every month. I'm not YouTube, but essentially originated from YouTube, all
Hmm.
the money I pay you every month.
Yeah.
Cool, cool. Was there anything we're leaving out here that needs addressed?
I guess going back to your question of how what tips do I have for somebody who is not naturally frugal is to work with somebody else. Obviously I can promote myself, but anybody that you resonate with and who you would want to work with, or somebody to hold you accountable in doing that, because I think that's a big thing, is having that accountability. And somebody, it's just like going to the gym. I think finances in the gym are very similar in that aspect, because yeah, it's just building the habit around it. And if you pay somebody to do something, to help you with something, like a personal trainer, like a financial coach, you're more likely to stick to it, at least hopefully. If you're paying something up front, then you will more likely stick to it. So I think that would be my tip too. And just build the habit of it. It'll eventually come. Just don't give up. I
Yeah.
think
And there was one month where I was just not doing well with keeping up with my spreadsheet, and you sent me a reminder.
Mhm.
And so that was very helpful. But now I'm motivated, because now I really want to win in this area, and get things improved and get margin. And it's so challenging, Leila, building a business, because it's so expensive, of trying to keep that going, and then
Mhm.
lifestyle. And it's just, I really appreciate everything you've done to help me.
Thank you. I appreciate you. You're an awesome client. So
Cool, cool, cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. Shout out your channel again, and you're on LinkedIn. So how can people connect with you on social media and on the internet and YouTube and all that? What's your handles?
yeah, I'm not on too much. So YouTube, personal finance with Leila, or if you just search finance Leila, I'll come up, which is really cool. Debt Over It is my website. So DEBT overit.com. You can see my coaching packages there. And then I am on LinkedIn. So it's my full name, Leila Kartforosh, which I don't know if y'all can see that, but my last name's pretty long. Again, I should come up if you just start typing Leila, Kart. And I don't post too much on there, but you can absolutely reach out to me, and my email is on there too. So yeah.
Cool, cool. Well, thanks, Greenscapes, Ohio. Thanks for tuning in on YouTube. I appreciate it. This is a lot of fun being on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn. So thanks to everybody for the support there, and everyone who's been leaving these hearts and likes and all this stuff. I've been trying to keep up with all of it, but it's very encouraging. So thanks so much for your time, Leila.
Of course.